obviously a focus on fitness out there today. How's the squad shaping up at the moment?
Squad's looking good. We've obviously still got quite a few guys finishing their rehab periods at the moment, myself included. So there's a lot of different programs going on individually at the moment, but the main group that are doing the work are getting a great advantage at the moment with their own pre-seasons, and they're looking good.
And yourself personally, what's your program like, and when does that step up to include, I guess, all of this stuff?
Monday and Friday I'm doing exactly what is out there at the moment. Just one day less a week than the main squad, but obviously integrating slowly back into the full program after some surgery and a couple other management issues in the off season. So I'm not too far away from getting back into full training. Same with Aaron and John Griffin and a few others.
You look lighter, Matthew, and a number of the squad look lighter. Did you make a conscious decision to take a couple of kilos off in your break?
It wasn't really a conscious effort. A lot of the players were given pretty clear indications of where they needed to get from Ross and the strength and conditioning guys, and there were some high expectations about how we presented back off the break, and some of the guys have met those standards and some haven't. So I think a few heeded the message of the coach and a few haven't, but generally speaking the guys have turned up in reasonable shape. Clearly we've got a long way to go, still a young and developing list, but yeah, we're a bit more progressed than we may have been in the past.
Does the appeal of being the first player to be based west of the Nullarbor to play 300 games of AFL football hold any sort of great appeal for you? You're in position to do that?
It doesn't, only because there's so much that goes into playing one game of AFL footy, let alone the 40 or 50 that needs to be achieved. There's just no focus on it whatsoever from that perspective. The actual milestone, if it comes, would be terrific, but I'm under no illusions how difficult and challenging that is. And as captain, there's a whole heap of other things that I'm worrying about and focusing on rather than that sort of thing. In my own body, I need to make sure that I can, as I said, get up to playing a few more games, let alone focusing on the larger target.
And as a forward, you expect to be playing mainly as a forward in 2012?
Yeah, I've had a few conversations with Ross about that. It's going to be about circumstances and availability of particular players. And as I said, there's still a number in rehab who are some of our midfielders. So it is going to be interesting to see how that progresses throughout the pre-season. But primarily, I'll be more forward than I was in 2011, and I think that's going to suit the team.
Does that alter the way you have to prepare at all?
Not really. No, not really. I mean, everyone on the field of AFL these days have to be supremely fit and be able to run well and tackle well and jump well and all that sort of stuff. So it doesn't really alter my training a hell of a lot. But there'll be some more forward play and leading pattern stuff that I'm working closely with Peter Sumich with. But in particular, my own condition, there won't be a huge change.
If you're one tall forward option, who do you think are the other ones? Who shapes as the other forward options for Fremantle in 2012?
There's probably a group, and it's up to them at this point in time to prove to the playing group and prove to Ross and Peter in particular that it's theirs. And there's a number of those players. Chris Main, Capra Bradley, Zach Clark. Maybe one of the resting ruckmen. There's a few options for us. Jack Anthony obviously is another one who's running out there at the moment. So I think the beauty is we've got some options. It's just whether or not one player in particular is willing to grab that option and take it by the scruff of the neck and actually make it theirs.
Where do you see Michael Johnson playing?
Probably down back. Yeah, I think he's most suited to that role. I haven't actually spoken at length with Ross about Michael, and he's obviously one of those players in rehab at the moment that's slowly progressing his workload up to full training. So, it's sort of small steps for guys like him in terms of getting their workload right so they can go out there and prove themselves in match simulation type drills. But gut feel would be back.
Have you had much of a chance to talk with Summer about a potential more of a forward role next year?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken to Peter now pretty closely over the past couple of weeks that I've been officially back, and briefly before that as well. And we've started to formulate some plans and I guess talk collaboratively about how he sees forward play, and I guess how myself and other experienced forwards at the club see forward play. And there's a lot of, not surprisingly, a lot of our thoughts are very in line and similar. But obviously he's been at a club for quite some time, and he'll bring a few things that'll be of an advantage for us as well.
What's been your impression of the draft class, being around them for a few days?
I mean, like every sort of 18-year-old or 19-year-old that comes into the system, they're driven and willing to do everything to succeed. They've got a great sort of capacity to absorb everything that's going around them, and they're enthusiastic. So, that's what that sort of age group brings to the table. They're just ready and willing to take on every opportunity as it comes, and that's certainly no different for those guys.
And you obviously being a pretty big mentor to at least the two South Australian boys coming across like you did, and both of them living at your place, is that right?
Yeah, well, there's the three South Aussie boys, and Cameron Sutcliffe's with me at the moment, so he's a young kid from Kadina who we're trying to get a word or two out of, but it's actually finding it a bit more difficult than we thought it may be. But it's great to be able to help those guys. We've already sort of bombarded them with a lot of stuff and information over the past couple of days, taking that to Subiaco, and out for dinner and all those sort of things that initially hopefully helps them settle in.
Would you have liked to set another tall target at all out of the draft class, or could that still come in the pre-season draft?
Look, that's not my role at all. It's the list management and the draft management group to pick the best players, and sometimes in the draft, you might have to go horses for courses in terms of what's going to suit us, but generically speaking, the philosophy is to pick the best player, and I agree with that.
There's a few word that maybe Paul Medhurst might have another chance with the Eagles. Would you back Paul to make a comeback in the AFL?
I haven't been in contact with Medhurst for quite some time, so it's almost impossible for me to make a comment on that at all, outside of saying I have spoken to a few people that have seen him recently and seen him training, and Medhurst has obviously got a huge amount of talent, and when he put in the work, which was often enough, he could really become a great AFL player. So good luck to him if he gets the opportunity. He and I were pretty close when we were here at Fremantle, and if it does exist for him, then good luck to him.
Over the past couple of seasons, there's been quite a few lower leg injuries, and it was said at the end of the season that was going to be part of the review in terms of your training practices and everything. Has much changed in terms of that side of things?
In terms of the training or the screening process?
In terms of what you're doing training-wise, is it much the same as you have done in the last couple of years? Or?
Well, I mean, new coach, there's obviously a lot of different philosophies that are presented to the group, more around the particular football drills we do as compared to the running element or the conditioning element. Ross has obviously experienced and seen some great regimes and programs both at Sydney and St Kilda, so he's implemented a few of those ideas immediately, and it's been to good measure as well. But specifically to do with the program, Jason Webber and our strength and conditioning guys run a really, really important and strict program, and that hasn't really changed a huge amount.
And in terms of Ross himself, what have the differences been like at the club? You said obviously he was quite strict with how he wanted you to come back from the club.
Well, I mean, I think he said them all himself. He asked for extraordinary effort. He asked to live every moment as if it's your last, and he holds everyone in the footy department to account. And I guess that's his role, and he outwardly expresses that to you guys and to the public, and he does exactly the same, in our four walls at the football club. So we're really pleased to have him on board, and he's been ultra impressive so far.
Is there any update on CBA talks with the AFLPA?
Yeah, it's probably become a bit more heightened over the past couple of weeks, but I know Matt Finnis and Andrew Demetrio have been catching up quite a bit to make one-on-one to, I guess, flesh out more of the nitty-gritty rather than sort of being us against them. It's more of a collaborative sort of a discussion they've been having over the past couple of weeks. We have a board meeting next Monday night to sort of, I guess, get an update of where that's at, and I guess give our position going forward. But it's progressing in the way that I think both parties hoped, and I'm not saying there's going to be an agreement, tomorrow, but I think at least it's heading in the right direction.